All right. So the important aspect of consciousness that we have been investigating. So we mean so some of the modern science, as the modern scientists have been investigating, is the awareness, or more specifically to the self-awareness, which means that whatever the things of which I am aware of, whether I really aware of that. So it is like a self loop, which means the self-awareness, whether I am aware of myself or not. So that is the very, very important aspect of the consciousness, one of the aspect of the consciousness, which we find a lot of difficult to really understand. Moreover, understanding it looks like it's not really possible to understand that aspect of reality. So the reason is that why it is not possible, it is like that. So let me give you an analogy so that we can really understand. For example, in the material nature as well, we have different kind of uh, we have different kind of nature itself, or let's say sub nature. So nature itself have been divided into many multiple sub nature, and they sometimes seems like they work in a different layers. For example, within human being, we have a variety kinds of human being, and within the living entities, we have a variety kind of living entities, and moreover, within this metal nature itself, we have variety kinds of different object. Now let's look at within human within human classification. If you carefully look at, very few people within human classification understand what is theory of relativity for that matter, right? Probably Einstein have understood very correctly the way he had understood, and the rest of the physicists, even though they are working in that area, probably they might not have understood the way Einstein himself has understood it. Okay, so though we have a common ground, or the common kind of a common domain like mathematics, where we agreed upon, okay, whatever I have understood, if I'm able to express it in a mathematics which is verifiable, or which we can validate it, and which supports the experimental result, and someone else also has kind of he could able to represent, or he could able to transcribe his thoughts in that form of mathematics, then we say that all right, so both mine and yours is exactly same. However, it is not really the case, because the Einstein's thought, the deep thought, so we are talking about the thought which really touches upon the awareness level, somehow which might have been coming out of that domain, is not exactly the whatever we have seen. Only thing is, by the time it gets translated to a common mathematical form, we assume to we seems to have considered or understand that okay, both of the thoughts were same. So the point that I wanted to make is that our main question is that why this self-awareness is not very easy to penetrate into. So therefore, the reason the reason I try to I would like to give is this. So only probably the Einstein might have understood the way the theory of relativity works, but not everyone, even though they have tried it. So, and what could be the reason for that? So that's the one question. So I'm leaving it here. What could be the reason for that? That why others cannot understand, but the only a particular person can understand. So now that is one level, and now you go a little beyond, like expand the boundary and try to compare the kind of human being along with the animal. For example, many of us, we the common human being, very well understand what are these electronics gadgets like smartphone, or for that matter the laptop or computer, right? However, the if you give the same thing to any other animal, for that matter, let's say let's talk about a little advanced animal like the monkey, or for that matter other intelligent animal like elephant or dolphin. If you give them, they will not be really able to understand, even they try very, very hard, right? So which means that they are limited by certain things. So that's the point I wanted to make. So which means that if your domain of knowledge is bounded by certain constraint, so it is not possible for you to go beyond that domain. So that's what is the point I wanted to make. So it means that animal will never be able to understand how does this electronics gadget really works and what are those electronic gadgets. So how he perceives, how the animal perceives, this is the it's like a either stone or let's say a food material, right? And he would try to kind of really try to test it in that with that perception. So this is what I wanted to say, and now the similar understanding holds probably here in the case of understanding the awareness. So the point I wanted to make is awareness is, as far as the Bhagavad Gita or as far as the Vedic scripture is concerned, awareness is a knowledge which comes from the deep, deep down from the subtle realm of spirituality. So it is a properties, it is one of the properties of the living entity or the soul. So therefore, until and unless a living creature, or let's say any creature for that matter, transcend the platform of this material conception and enters into that platform of spiritual conception, it is not possible for him to penetrate to that level of understanding in that those understanding. So this is the reason. So therefore, if we really wanted to understand those aspect the next level of understanding, or let's say if the science has to really graduate from whatever it is currently, then we have to bring in the spiritual education, or let's say we have to bring in those set of knowledge through which we can transcend this material platform and probably penetrate or enter into this spiritual realm, right? So this limits us from understanding the or exploring the newer domain or newer reality, right? So thank you very much. So in our next discussion, so we'll try to discuss more into this self-awareness.